Good morning. Hello, test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Yes, finally, I think I can hear some sound already. Sorry for the wait. Yeah, I think there are some delays. I'm trying to check how long is the delay from the real time then when I do the streaming until that you actually see it in the YouTube. Wow, that's quite long. It's about 21 seconds. Okay, so let's get started. So if you guys have any questions, you can just type in a comment, and I try to my best to answer it. Yeah, it seems that my camera has some issues with these new systems that we are using, and it seems that it doesn't really shows my moving image. So for now, we just keep it this way. Okay, as long as you guys can see the slides, I think probably that's the most important things. Okay. Okay. So, well, we all know that this live streaming is about MikroTik. Okay. Um, so in MikroTik, they actually produce several software, and out of the many software today, so we will talk about two of them, which is the main software they're using in their product. So it's a RouterOS and it's a SwOS, or sometimes we also call it a SwitchOS. Okay, so these two is the heart of the MikroTik devices, whether it's a router, it's a switch. Okay. Okay, so the first one is RouterOS. So RouterOS is the core intelligence. Okay, it's the control system that being used in most of the MikroTik devices. So it includes the routers, switches, okay, wireless routers, whatever you call it. Most of them is running RouterOS inside. Okay, so what is RouterOS? The software specification of RouterOS. Okay, the RouterOS contain static and dynamic routing protocols. Or statics, I think we all know that statics when we manually enter the routing, the routes into the system. Okay, so it's easy to manage if we have a small network, but when it grows and we have many networks inside our network, at a time we might prefer to use the dynamic routings. Okay. So these dynamic routings, there are a few protocols that you can choose from. Regardless, depends on how you design your network and which, okay, and which one that is you must most familiar with it. Okay, so RouterOS support OSPF, okay, including the OSPF version 3 for IPv4 and IPv6. It also have a BGP, okay, and the latest ISIS is the latest addition to the dynamic routing protocols for the inside the RouterOS, and I think it only exists in RouterOS 7. And there's a RIP. RIP is a very old protocol and it has some limitation, but at some situations it's still very useful. Okay, because it's simple, and since that if you don't need all those complicated things, brick might be the best choice for certain small network. It's not so complicated or straightforward network. Okay, so MPLS, and yes, RouterOS support MPLS. So MPLS mostly used inside the service provider network. We might not see this in our office network or in our home network. Okay, so MPLS usually people also call it a protocol that's running at the layer 2.5. Okay, if you're familiar with the OSI layers, which is consists of 7 layers. Okay, and tunneling protocols. Okay, so what is tunneling protocols? Tunneling protocols actually create a so-called tunnel or direct point-to-point virtual connections between 2 points. Okay, so why are we calling it tunneling protocols? Because in the tunneling protocols, there are 2 types. Okay, one is the type with the encryption, so there's a security on it, and this one generally we call it as a VPN. So it's a virtual private network. Okay, so there's encryption inside, generally used if, let's say, you don't want people to know what are the content of this tunnel or what are the content of the data that being sent across the 2 points. Okay, so usually you want to encrypt it. Okay, so in VPN, MikroTik support a few standards. Okay, all these standards that you see like IPsec, IKEv2, OpenVPN, BPTP, L2TP, SSTP, and WireGuard. Okay, all these are open standard. So there's no proprietary code inside. So what does it mean? It means that if you are using these protocols, regardless whether it's a MikroTik or it's other brands or vendors, right? As long as it's open protocols, they can communicate with each other. So it doesn't have to be the same vendors on both sides. Okay. So all these protocols come with the encryption inside. So it's a secure tunnel, or usually we call it a VPN. Okay. But besides this, usually if, let's say, for example, we have a situation where we just want to form a tunnel between 2 points. Okay. We don't care if people are looking at the content of this tunnel, what data are being sent. Then we want to use a planned tunnel that only form a virtual connection. There might be some kind of security encapsulation, decapsulation of the IP, but the data itself being transmitted is not encrypted. Okay, for example, these are the EOIP, GRE, and IPIP. So why do we need, if we already have encrypted tunnels, why do we need unencrypted tunnel? Okay, for example, you just want to form a virtual connection, but you on both sides you have maybe not so powerful router. Okay, so and also without the encryption, the speed and the performance is better because the router doesn't have to do some processing on the packet, some complicated processing for the encryption, all these things. Of course, then they'll be faster. Okay, so there's 2 types, unencrypted and encrypted. So it depends on the usage, right? It's not always in the situation where you need a VPN tunnels. Okay, you could just use a simple UIP or GRE. Because each of these protocols come with their own characteristic. So it really depends on the situation and your requirements. Okay, so RouterOS also support features for the wireless. Okay, Wi-Fi 4, 5, Wi-Fi 6, and it also support the WiGig. WiGig is the wireless connection that actually run beyond 1 Gbps connectivity. Okay, these are usually running at a higher frequency, and if it transmit at a higher speed, it's just that the penetration itself is not as good as the lower frequency that we use normally in the Wi-Fi. So it must have a line of sight. The moment you have something blocking in the middle, it will not form the connection. Okay. Okay, hotspot, or some people call it a captive portal. So this is one of the free features inside the MikroTik devices, and it's quite popular. because you can do a lot of customization. For example, you could build your own system similar to what we have in Singapore, like Wireless SG. Okay, so you could have a login portal, you could have a separate user database, and you could design and customize the login portal. Okay, and QoS. So what's QoS? Quality of service. Okay, this usually apply when you want to actually differentiate packets, applications, or users that is using your network and router to the internet. So, for example, you can specify what is the maximum bandwidth they can get. You can specify if they are using a certain application, whether it's a web browser or maybe there's some kind of video application. Do they get a better road, more bandwidth, or is being limited, or all sort of things? Okay, so we call this a quality of service. Okay. Okay, security, yes. So RouterOS come with security features inside. Okay. For example, it come with a stateful firewall, so you can specify a very detailed firewall based on, for example, source address, destination address, type of protocols, and a lot of things, even including the L7 application. Okay. Now it also support RPKI. So RPKI is being used together with the BGP. This is for the routing security. Okay, so if you are at the internet networking level, you should know about this. Okay. Okay. Besides the routing, okay, RouterOS, as I said previously, RouterOS also run inside magnetic switches. So what are the features that are being supported inside the RouterOS for switching? Okay. L3 hardware offloading. So yes, so it's a router, it's a router software, routing software, okay, but it supports switch, and it's not a software switch. It also supports hardware offloading, meaning that whatever certain configurations that for forwarding the packet is being thrown to the hardware for processing. So it does not use up your CPU resources, and you could use the CPU for other things that are related to routing or any other features. Okay. 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 Mac security, Mac VLAN, QoS, yes, but the QoS inside the switching is not as powerful as the QoS inside the routing. Okay, but at least it allow you to apply some limitation on the bandwidth being used for a certain port, MAC address. Okay, of course it will support VLAN, inter VLAN routing, because well, it's RouterOS after all, and VXLAN. Okay, now SwOS or SwitchOS or whatever you want to call it, SwOS. Okay, this software is specifically designed for micro switch products. So you can't run it on a router product, but on the switch product, depends on which series of the switch. Microtik has two series, CRS and CSS. Okay, both can run as SwOS. Okay. So for SwOS, what are the features inside this? Okay. So first, SwitchOS, SwOS is a web-based management. So it's a managed switch. Okay, it can manage the switch, but everything is on the based on the web. It's in the browser. As we know that RouterOS has several ways that you could manage your device. Okay, we could talk about it in a separate presentation. Okay, but SwOS is only available as a web-based management. So you need a browser. You don't need to install any application to manage. Okay, made specifically for MikroTik switch products. Okay, is a very small software. Okay. Okay. And it's actually fast when you are doing the upgrading of the SwOS, and also the boot time is very short. Okay, I've tried this in a small 5-port MikroTik switch, and the upgrade is matter of seconds as well as the booting. So you probably won't fear any downtime. Okay, these are how the web interface looks like. Okay, very plain and contain all the tabs of the features, and the features itself, of course, since that this is designed for the switch, it has a less feature compared to RouterOS. That's why RouterOS is still my choice of software even that if I'm using a switch. Okay, but certain situation, you just want to have a basic functionality of a switch, then go for SwOS. Okay, so what's inside the SwOS? Okay, first is support port-to-port forwarding on the hardware level, so you can run a wire speed. Okay, and then it also have the broadcast storm control. So if you know that if we accidentally install a cable that created a loop that based on the basic network communication, it might create a broadcast storm. Okay, so it also can do a MAC filtering. So you can filter MAC address of each port. Okay, a VLAN configuration, of course, this is a must for every managed switch. Okay, if a vendor call their product a managed switch but doesn't support VLAN configuration, then you will just throw it away, or just use it as a dumb switch. Yes. Okay, then traffic mirroring. So you can mirror the traffic from one port to another port. This one usually you use it for monitoring the purpose. Okay, and bandwidth limitation, which is the QoS for certain ports. Okay. Okay. It also can do some basic adjustment of the MAC address headers field and the IP headers field. Okay. So what devices actually support SwOS? All the CRS, 300 series, and I believe the 500 series also support. Okay. CSS 326 variants. Okay. And in SwOS, there's actually two others special version. Okay, the first version is for the older hardware. It's even though it's always still in production, it's still being used well. CSS 106, or this is also known as a RB260GS and the GSP. So it's running a different version of SwOS inside, but of course the same features. Okay, and then CSS 610 series. So in CSS 610 series, actually is running SwOS Lite. So it's a stripped down version of normal SwOS. Okay, so in total, we could see 3 different version of SwOS. Okay, so when do we choose to use RouterOS, and when do we want to use the SwOS on our switch? Okay, if you want a full functionality of a switch up to the advanced level, including, for example, multi-VLAN, multi-chassis like LAG, link aggregation, all these things, and also maybe you think that you might use the firewall in the future, go for the RouterOS. But if you are buying a MikroTik switch and you only use it as a managed switch with a VLANs, you have a different networks that you want to separate, okay, and you are not using any other functionality, then go for the SwOS, because SwOS itself is fast, it's simple, It doesn't give you much trouble. When you look at the RouterOS, you see all the features of that which sometimes is quite confusing. Okay, so if you want a simple switch with VLAN support and the spanning tree protocols, all right, and use the SwOS. Okay, so that is all my presentation for today. So I'll be still around for some time. So if you want to ask any questions, okay,